Hello, everybody, and welcome to Fight for Liberty Live. There's a lot of shit going on in our world today, so let's talk about it. Um, I think the main thing on everybody's mind right now is probably the protesting going on all across the country and actually the world, which is something that's really cool to see. Multiple countries are protesting and demonstrating in solidarity with us, and other countries are using this as a platform to speak out against police brutality in their own countries. We're not the only country that suffers from this plague, um, and so I think that we might have started something pretty cool. I know it's kind of been a couple year long thing on the international front. We had Hong Kong and we had France. Uh, the kind of anti establishment mindset has actually finally become pretty commonplace in the world. And it's really comforting to see as somebody that has spent the majority of their life trying to fight the establishment. It is nice to see that the Libertarian Party is now, actually standing up and doing something with this. Joe Jorgensen went to a protest last night, along with our current national chairman Nick Sarwark, New Hampshire Vice Chair, um, and a couple other people. It was in Manchester, New Hampshire. That was really cool to see. I'm not actually friends with Spike Cohen, I don't think, to really be keeping accurate tabs on him, but um we had Michael Madrid, who was on the show last week, was in New York City protesting, with Brianna Coyle, who was on a segment of the show last week as well. We've really been getting out there and doing things and being active. And if you live in the Syracuse area or anywhere near us, we're going to be out protesting with Black Lives Matter on Saturday. Um, I think we have an amazing opportunity here right now to prove that libertarians aren't racist, um, and B, that we really do care about all your freedoms all the time, right? That's the NYLP tagline, or at least it was for a while with our merchandising. If if we were protesting last week about the coronavirus lockdown and we're not joining in the protests this week about police brutality, then we don't really care about all your freedoms all the time. We care about our freedoms when we care about them. And that's not what the Libertarian Party is. We fight for every individual, not us as individuals, right? That's how this works. It's not about your rights, it's about everyone's rights. It's about sticking up for the individual as a collective to make sure that the individual never actually feels like an individual. Smoke is doing weird things to the green screen over here. Uh, so we can actually use this as a platform for real change, for real outreach, to really grow the party. I think that we need to be organized as a group of people for stuff like this. We should be the organization, the political group in America that knows our way around a protest better than anybody else. Because this is our shit. This is how change happens throughout history, is either war or protest. Like, there really are only those two options, and I know most people in the Libertarian Party are kind of just holding out for the first choice, but If we're already fighting, if there are cops showing up at your door and you have to be defending yourself, if the boogaloo has started, it is too late, my friends. We need to make sure that we're restricting government authority, we're restricting government power. We are making sure that the boogaloo never actually has to happen. I know a lot of us have been waiting for it for a long time, and yes, it'll be fun, but our end goal should be making sure that we don't actually have to fight anybody. We should be making sure that our country is a good, safe place, that a revolt doesn't have to happen. We can do that. That's the whole message of elect the revolution. Um, but another big part of that are these protests. So yeah, Saturday in Syracuse. Hit me up if you are interested and want to come along. We will be a group. We will be together. We will be handing out literature and trying to grow the cause. Um, and it was really disheartening today on Twitter. I saw at least a dozen or more posts calling out the Libertarian Party and libertarians in general about our non action. And luckily, we have had enough people doing stuff the last couple of days that those posts were flooded in the comments with, oh, well, I was protesting. Here's a picture of me protesting. We were doing this. Here's Joe doing this last night. You know, we had a defense, but you still see the world looking to us and not seeing the kind of action that they were expecting. And then a lot of those comments where, yeah, they don't care about rights if it has to do with black people. Just so much racism in the comments and projected racism, saying that libertarianism as an organization, as a group of people, as a way of thought is racist. And it kind of hurt, you know? It hurts that people think that that's what we are, that that's what we believe in, that people could look at an organization fighting for the rights of the individual and think that they hate an entire group of people based on their skin color, because that is what we sound like sometimes. We project some of the most racist individuals in the country. We put them on pedestals because they're popular, because a lot of people eat that shit up. A lot of people like to listen to racists talk. There's a lot of racists in this country. So a large number of YouTube followers makes them a god in the Libertarian Party, because we fail so miserably at outreach so often that we think that somebody like Tom Woods or Dave Smith is going to be our savior, because they're out there and they have the followers, they have the viewers, they have the charisma that it takes to lead our party. But all they're doing is sowing this idea that libertarians are racist. Has been a good part of my day today, trying to dispel that mindset. And it's not a rumor, it's not something out there. It's something that people think and feel already. It's something that we have to change in people's solidified heads. And that is not a fight that we should have to fight right now. That is not something that we should have to be overcoming right now. We're trying to run a presidential race. We're trying to change the country for the better. We're trying to impact the world. And we're getting bogged down by all of this bullshit that's not true. But because we have put ourselves in our own little echo chambers for so long, we don't understand what the world out there thinks of us. I shared a post or a news article the other day. I think it was like Washington Post or something like that. Um, the headline was the Libertarian Party decides to, something about Libertarian Party decides to be a joke for the 2020 election or something like that, talking about Joe and Spike's nominations. You know, that is what the outside world thinks when they hear the word libertarian. I've gotten laughed at more times than I can count, especially when I was running for office. It was like, oh, I'm running for city council. Oh, you're a Democrat? Cool. No, I'm a libertarian. Oh. They would just laugh. Half of them would just laugh. Some of them would storm away, you know, and then a big chunk of them would be like, oh, what the fuck is that? We shouldn't have to be fighting those kind of fights, but that's what we are right now, right? So this monologue, it can't be about what we should have been doing in the past or what could have happened, where we should be at by now, uh, because I think that is a large portion of the problem. I think a lot of organizations, not just the LP, but so many different groups that I've been a part of, um, businesses, companies, so many people make the mistake of living in this mindset, including myself. I do it all the time. It's actually pretty unhealthy, is living in this mindset of, oh well, we should have been there, but refusing to do the work to make sure that in 10 years we will be there, so that in 10 years people aren't saying the exact same shit of, oh well, we shouldn't have to be fighting this, we should be better than this, boo hoo hoo, the authority in the party sucks, change authority, new person, new bullshit, same mindset, and forever and forever and forever we're just thinking about, oh well, we shouldn't have to do this grunt work, right? We're the Libertarian Party, we're the fastest growing party in America, we're the third largest party in America, we shouldn't have to be doing this, and that's what we keep telling ourselves, and we'll always be doing this. We're not just going to keep doing exactly what we've been doing for 50 years and just all of a sudden, no, Jo Jorgensen is going to be the one. Like, she's all of a sudden going to win the presidential election. That's not going to happen, guys. We cannot keep doing the same thing for 50 years and expect to just miraculously become a legitimate party in America. That's not how politics works. We have to do that grunt work. We have to lay that foundation. We have to make sure that the next generation of voters doesn't think of the Libertarian Party as a complete fucking joke. Because our parents, a big portion of them are already lost causes. I'm not saying anything against other generations or reaching out to them. Most of the people in the Libertarian Party are in my that I know and talk to on a daily basis are my parents' age. But a lot of people in that age bracket are already lost causes. The people that aren't are the people protesting right now. The people that are just getting into this, are just realizing how fucked up our system is. They're out there going, hey, this is fucked up. Somebody help us change it. And we've been here for 50 years trying to change it. Now is our chance. Now is our time. This is our opportunity to rein in all of this energy and hatred towards the establishment and towards the government and towards the cops, and say, okay, let's end qualified immunity. Let's end the war on drugs. Let's pass logical, fundamental police reform. Let's get rid of police unions. Let's get rid of private prisons. Let's just, keep going. Just keep eroding the system. I think, and I can tell you from experience, if you get to talking to a straight up self-identified communist, I have on more than one occasion, they still walk away calling themselves a communist. I'm not even talking about making them necessarily libertarian, but I have had a communist walk away from a conversation going, yeah, end the Fed. I like that. because they don't like the system either. Nobody likes the system. The only people that like the system are the ones that built it. But we're too busy arguing about the little discrepancies about what we dislike in the system, like abortion, that we forget that while we're bickering about things like abortion, the government is passing a renewal of the States Act, making it completely and totally legal for the federal government to look at and store your search history and social media history. That's a thing that they're in the middle of doing right now, but we're too busy bickering about other pointless bullshit. And they've been adding on to the Patriot Act for years, right? Like, this isn't a new thing, but neither is the abortion fight. And I don't mean to just constantly nag on abortion, but it's one of those fights that there is never going to be a solution. There's never going to be a consensus. There will never be a world where the entirety of the world agrees one way or the other about abortion. It's not going to happen. Not without like nuclear holocaust brainwashing type, like post-apocalyptic movie, like where people don't understand the concept, or like, babies are so scarce nobody would even think about killing one. Like, as long as we keep on this timeline in a semi-normal life, there will never be a consensus on abortion. So stop arguing about it. Stop voting based on that one issue. I talk to so many people on a daily basis that voted for Donald Trump because he was anti-abortion. Like, that was his main thing. I'm like, I mean, Hillary Clinton has killed a lot of people, but I'm sure Donald Trump has aborted more babies than people Hillary Clinton has killed, right? Like, Donald Trump does not give a shit about the sanctity of life. Roe v. Wade is never going to get overturned. So why vote based on that? But that's what we're doing. And while we're doing that, we're voting in people like Donald Trump, who are threatening to call in the National Guard to end these protests that haven't even been going on for a whole week yet. He's just instantly snapped to, oh, let's just bring in the military. And those are the kind of people that you elect when you base your entire logic around some bullshit left versus right argument, when it really should be, is this guy going to fix the system? Right? And I know he campaigned on draining the swamp, and a little tiny bit of me believed him, a little tiny bit also that maybe there's a chance that this guy is nuts enough that he actually wants to just fuck up the federal government, right? I mean, that's what I would believe if a couple of other crazy eccentric billionaires ran for office, like Elon Musk. If Elon Musk ran for office and on a drain the swamp kind of platform, I'd believe him wholeheartedly. So there was a part of me that believed him, that hoped that it was true, but it wasn't. It wasn't, and we see that, and we're watching it on a daily fucking basis. We're watching Donald Trump be an authoritarian hack, putting his friends in high places, renewing the Patriot Act. He hasn't ended a single war. He hasn't done almost anything he's campaigned on. His wall fucking fell over in one section. It's not done. We're paying for it out of our tax dollars. Like, his whole campaign was bullshit. But but everybody still wants to vote for him again because, well, I mean, have you seen Joe Biden? Yes, I've seen Joe Biden. He's just as terrible. Pick a different person. It's not binary. You don't have two choices. We can break this system, but it takes every person, or a lot of people, to fucking just decide that this system is not for them, and that electing an authoritarian hack again and again and again and again will never fix the system. whether or not that authoritarian hack happens to agree with you about Israel versus Palestine or abortion, he's still going to be an authoritarian hack. He's still going to renew the Patriot Act. He's still going to uh, prosecute innocent people. He's not going to let Julian Assange go. He's not going to end the war on drugs. He's not going to end or she is not going to end the wars in the Middle East. They're still just an authoritarian hack, whether it's Joe Biden or Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton or Kamala Harris, or they're all the same. They're all the same. Ah, damn. Hate it when they canoe, man. That's the worst part about smoking weed. Is when you fuck up a joint. It just hurts your soul. You know? Hurts your soul. I've been talking quite a lot about this wonderful plant. If you watched Monday's episode of the Fight for Liberty show, we talked about both an organization rallying voters for the cause, and we also talked about some possible legislation that's being jumbled up and toyed with like children, but still exists and has a lot of co-sponsors nonetheless. So maybe this is good news. Maybe we might have some change in one area. That would be nice. Do you think we'll ever get change in any of the other areas? And these are the conversations that lead me to defend people like Alexandria Ocasio Cortez and piss a lot of my followers off and a lot of my friends as well. Um, a lot. I definitely have some very, very strong economic opinions, right? You've heard me talk about them on the show. I actually don't talk about them as much as I do in person. But if you know me in person, you know how much I hate welfare and how much I think that it's ruining people's lives, and all of my ideas about a pure free market system where the government isn't fucking with anything and we can live happily, right? I have a very strong utopian type mindset when it comes to economics. But what I understand is that the road that I want to take to that utopia is not the only idea. We have a lot of people with a lot of ideas of how maybe we can get to an economic utopia. I think free market, 100% best choice, best answer. We got this. If we can just get the government out of everything. The thing is, I respect the fact that other people have different ideas, but here's what I care about is, do you have that end goal? Do you want us to all live in a bright, happy society that works for everybody and doesn't put people down and works for the individual as well as the successful? If you want that and you are working towards that, I support you. If you are working to get power and to maintain power in a system exactly the same as the one we're living in right now, then fuck you. Don't run for office. I don't want you. Go to hell. And we can see this kind of behavior from lots of people, right? Good guys, bad guys in your head or mine. Um, we can see this I just want power from people that we even liked. Like, I mean, Obama was some progressive hero when he came up. He was gonna be like the savior of the leftist mentality, and then he turned out to be a fucking piece of shit that didn't do anything for anyone, fucked up healthcare even more than it was already was, got us into more wars, killed a bunch of people, bombed innocent children, and just continued all of the same problems. I don't think Bernie Sanders would be any different personally. I think he's lived in this system for way too long and gathered way too much to himself in this system to ever let it go, to ever leave it, to ever really try to meaningfully change it. But I might be wrong about him. I'll take your guys' opinions in the comments. But when you really think about it, if you're a libertarian and you think, you probably agree with me. I mean, unless you're a libsoc, that free market, that's the answer. But I think the libsoc um, caucus is actually a pretty good demonstration of the fact that you can mix them all up a little bit, Um, we can have a free market with a little bit of socialism. We can have socialism with a little bit of free market. We can have all these different things, and we can have all of them sprinkled in with a whole shit ton of authoritarianism. We can see throughout America's history us going through a whole bunch of different um, economic structures. We started off pretty capitalistic. Then we had Lincoln, who is a commie piece of trash. And then, we had a couple of decent capitalists try to build it back up a little bit. Reagan went commie again, and then it's kind of been in a downturn since. But we've tried a little bit of everything, but what we haven't tried is freedom. What we haven't tried is get the government the fuck out of it. What we haven't tried is electing decent humans. We haven't done that since the 1800s. Um, I mean, we haven't had a president with a soul since Carter, and him I disagree with on politically a decent amount. So I'm kind of at a loss when I see what we've done with politics in America. We've taken it and made it into an easy way for the worst people in the country to become the most powerful people, and it's a popularity contest and it's bullshit. Everybody falls for their propaganda and their just complete lack of giving a shit about you, but everybody falls for it because they're good at what they do. I mean, anybody that's spent a decent amount of time in a sales profession can tell you that people are not that difficult to manipulate. Especially like the average populace. There's a lot of reading and studying that you could do to manipulate people. I've done it. I'm a sales professional. Um, I got paid to take classes on how to sell to people, and it's unfortunately it works. It works on me. It works on people that study it constantly. The amount of times that I get pushed into an impulse buy by a salesman is ridiculous. I'm terrible at saying no, even though I know every trick that they're using. It doesn't fucking matter. I still fall for them. So the average populace, we're kind of fucked because we keep believing and falling for these monstrous people, and they keep climbing in power. They keep just going and going, and they keep getting worse and worse. I mean, Reagan was an awful person and a terrible president, but he was still 1,000 times better than Donald Trump. We have just continued to de-evolve our government officials for at least the last 100 years, and it's gonna eventually catch up to us. We're gonna eventually just literally have the worst possible humans in the country running our country. And if we don't put a stop to it before that happens, then my Boogaloo brothers will get their wish. And because once we let them get too much power, once we get past that point of no return, some would argue we're already past that. I unsure. But there is a point of no return. There is a place where all of a sudden a government that we used to love and care about is now too powerful and is trying to kill us. Anytime that a government turned crazy, they were cool beforehand. Most dictators rose to power because the entire populace loved them. And in plenty of circumstances, they weren't even that bad until like their grandkids were in power or something like that. Plenty of emperors were loved and revered, plenty of monarchs as well. So we can't we can't let this blind patriotism ruin our country. We can't just say, America, Memorial Day, flag, that's not an answer. That's not a solution. That doesn't help anyone. All that does is perpetuate this terrible system. And I get it. You love your country. You fought for your country. You would die for your country. That's awesome. I would too if it was actually dying for my country and not for oil over there. I have no problems with loving America. I love America myself. Don't get me wrong. I am not unpatriotic. My entire family fought in the military, and I grew up in a very, very patriotic house. There are flags in front. I love this country, and that is why I'm trying to heal it. That is why I want to help fix it. That is why I'm asking for your help. If we take the patriotism to a level where we let it blind us from the problems that we have in the country and just say no, no, we can't be wrong because we're America, then we're no longer America. America is what we are because we have taken all the ideas from everywhere, all the people, all the ideas, all the food, all the tech, all the everything from everywhere, and we brought it into one country, and that is why America is the best country. Not because George Washington, not because any individual person, but because we have constantly since for hundreds of years been a melting pot of societies, of cultures, and of ideas. And that's not just food, right? We can do that politically too. We can do that in a lot of different ways. It's not just about clothing and food and music, right? We are a melting pot. If it worked for food, we were able to create Taco Bell, why can't we create the perfect government? And why can't we assume that it isn't what we have? We can look at what we have and say, no, this is clearly not perfect. That's not hating America. That's not being unpatriotic. It's not supporting the troops. That's not any of that shit. It is purely and totally wanting to help the country. Acknowledging a problem is not bad. I'm not sure who I'm ranting to at the moment, to be honest, because most of the people that will watch this are already in pretty severe agreement with me on this, unless some of my family gets a hold of it. But what we what we have in America is an oligarchy. Plain and simple. Bernie Sanders says it all the goddamn time. Oligarchy. It's supposed to be a representative republic, not a democracy. We've never been a democracy. Don't let anybody tell you that. America is not a democracy. We are a representative republic. And what that means is that it is up to the people to make sure that their representatives are representing them. It's not that actually difficult of a thought process. It is just be well represented. But instead of being well represented on the things that matter, we have allowed politicians for generations to shift our focus towards a couple of things that we want to be well represented on. So back to my earlier topic, we don't care about not passing the Patriot Act. We care about banning abortion or immigration. We don't care about ending the wars in the Middle East. We don't care about saving money. We don't care about ending police brutality because they have focused us to care about just a couple of little things. And the Democrats, I'll say, at least have slightly more logical things that they focus on with all of their might, like housing and healthcare, because those are actually, I mean, those are more important than abortion in my mind. But there's still things that are not ever going to be a national consensus. We are never going to be okay with Medicare for all. That's never going to happen. Never going to be okay with housing for all at a national level. It's just, it's never, ever, ever going to happen. But what could happen is ending police brutality. What could happen is ending the Fed. What could happen? We bring our soldiers home. And you know what we could do with all of the money that we saved? Peace dividend. And now you don't have to worry about housing for all or Medicare for all because you have a peace dividend that's paying for all of those things. Wouldn't that be better? To get what you want and know that the money that's paying for what you wanted used to get spent on bombing brown kids, and now it's getting spent on your health care. Wouldn't that be so much better than just taxing everybody more? So if we shift our mentality to the things that as a whole, as a society, we agree on, and scroll through Facebook, really pay attention. Click most recent instead of like top stories or most relevant or whatever. So you're actually just reading your timeline in order, not fucked up by what Facebook wants you to read. Scroll through. I promise you'll see a bunch of posts from people that you thought you disagreed with and you agree with them, even on a political thing. You know, something gets shared around a lot, like last year, and it just had like a bullet point of facts that, in my opinion, the majority of America agrees with, and and almost all of my friends ended up sharing it. I saw it like 100 times. It was really obnoxious, but everybody was liking it and sharing it. That should be the platform of the next presidential candidate. The person that unites the country together under the things that we all can agree on. Fuck the bullshit. Leave that for your state or local elections, pick a different way to fight those little right versus left fights that you want to fight, and just agree to disagree on a couple of issues, and let's start electing people into Washington that are actually trying to fix it, that are trying to change it. People like Joe Jorgensen, people like myself, people like Justin Amash, people like Tulsi Gabbard, people like Michael Madrid or Larry Sharp. We have people in Washington already and scattered across the country that are ready to work for you, to represent you, and actually you, and not just from the LP. There's Mel for Progress in Queens. Uh, Seema Hernandez, I think, lost her primary, unfortunately, but she's another great example. People that I disagree with Seema on a whole bunch of shit, but we agree on all the important stuff. Fix the country first, then we can argue about how we pay for healthcare. Can we end the murder, then figure out healthcare? Is that too much to ask? Can we just agree on that? Right and left. As a whole, can we just agree to fix the murder first and worry about healthcare and abortion and immigration, housing? Worry about that next. Murder first, then that. Okay? If we can get that, then we can start arguing about the little stuff. And don't get me wrong, I'm gonna enjoy that part, right? I will fight tooth and nail against Medicare for all after we fix the murders, after we end the war, after we stop police brutality, after we end the war on drugs, after our country can heal a little bit. Then sure, I'll go toe to toe with AOC on Medicare for all and probably kick her ass because I think that there's a better way. But if I lose that fight and more people agree with her than me and elect more people that agree with her than me and we lose in Congress, so be it. That's what America wants. Fine. I don't care. I would rather have Medicare for all and no murders than what we have right now. I really don't give a shit about whether or not the whole country agrees with me. That's the whole point. But the problem is when we try to force the whole country to agree with us. When we say, "Oh, well, I need to vote on this, so I need to make sure that I elect somebody that is going to shove my ideas down their throats." That is not libertarianism. That's not individualism. That's not voluntarism. That is not anything that we fight for in this group, at least. If you're watching this, I'm assuming that you care about liberty. So if you care about liberty, shoving your opinions down somebody's throat is not liberty. So if you voted for somebody because they were going to ban something that you don't like, that's not liberty. And it never will be. There's never a world where you're in the right in that situation. It doesn't exist. If you call yourself a freedom fighter or a liberty lover, then you need to be fighting for everyone's freedoms and everyone's liberties, and that means the freedom and the liberty to outvote you on Medicare for all. And that is something that we as libertarians have to deal with. Again, I will fight tooth and nail. I will debate her on the House floor. I'm cool with that. If you guys elect me to Congress, that could happen. But until then, we work on other stuff, right? Over here, we have working on other stuff. Then we can fight tooth and nail. But if we lose, we deal with it because that is a representative republic. That's how our system is built. Because people are scared of majority rule, but majority rule is a lot less scary than minority rule, which is what we have right now. And representative republics are built in a way with checks and balances, with we have the three branches of government and the two different parts of Congress that kind of help make sure that it's not necessarily a cut and dry majority rule. That would be a democracy. That would be 50.00001% of vote gets to fuck over everybody else. That's a democracy. What we have has some checks and balances. But if everyone agrees on something, it happens. That's still how we move forward. We have to be able to create a consensus and agree on something and move forward. Sometimes you're gonna get outvoted. It's gonna happen. That's a republic. That's how it works. But what's good about it is that if you do your job right on election day every year, you can make sure that it's never a scenario where 1% of the country controls the other 99 in terrible, excruciating ways, which is what we have right now. And, that is clearly just a failure at the ballot box for 7 or 8 generations. Just ongoing and continuous. And it won't fix itself until we start doing it right. We were given a job. That job is to vote. That job is to participate in our republic. And if we continue as our generation to do the same thing that every generation before us did, we're going to just continue this avalanche of authoritarianism that will eventually crush us. We can't keep letting that happen. We have to make a change. We have to throw away this idea that only the people that they tell us to vote for can we vote for, that only who they deem worthy can represent us. We have to shed this idea that the people that are there must know what they're doing because they clearly don't. We need to replace a lot of people in government. That is the only way we'll see change. And it can happen quick. Our entire government revolves in 6 years at maximum. In 6 years, there could be no human in government that was in government now. That's a possibility. That's something we can achieve if we want to. I'm not saying everyone in government is bad, so we don't necessarily have to do that. But the ones that are causing the problems, the ones that are getting investigated for insider trading, trying to make money off of your crisis, the people that are specifically voting to increase Trump's ability to spy on you, especially the Democrats who voted to impeach him and then 2 days later voted to increase his ability to spy on you. These pandering, bullshitting motherfuckers that we need to get them out. And we can. Again, in 6 years, they will all run for re-election at some point in time. We can get them out. We have to. Because if we look, everybody likes to say, "Oh, it was good back then," about like the Reagan administration. But we look at that now and say, "Wow, that was pretty fucked up." But it was still, like I said earlier, better than what we have now. We can clearly see just a deterioration of our government. It's blatant. So the only logical conclusion is that our grandkids, if we don't do something, our grandkids are screwed. Our grandkids are how some sci-fi horror movie starts. Some messed up Handmaid's Tale situation. Who knows? But if we don't act up now, we're dooming future generations. Our grandparents doomed us to what we have right now. These riots and viruses and just the insaneness that 2020 is can almost all be directly blamed on a vote that our grandparents took. Like, I mean, the people that voted for Joe Biden in the first place, who wrote all the bills that gave the cops all the power to be the dipshit fuckers that they are, that is on them. And it's bad now. But we can't sit here and say, oh, well, they sucked, and then keep doing what they did. The only way we change, the only way we fix things, the only way we improve as a society is to say, fuck that. They obviously were wrong about a lot of things. Let's do something different. Let's try a different party. Green Party sounds cool. Libertarians, who are they? What's the Sam Party? Look that one up. They're interesting. Like, try a different party, try a different politician, participate in the primary. If you don't like any of the parties, you're a Democrat and you live in New York City, and it would literally be a wasted vote for you right now. A, don't believe that shit. It's never a wasted vote. B, there's primaries. Most of the time, there's somebody decent every cycle that tries to run against somebody like Jerry Nadler, and they lose. They get crushed because the establishment is helping Jerry, and Jerry wins in a landslide every single fucking time. But that doesn't have to happen. Stuff like that doesn't have to happen. If we pay attention to the people that are causing harm, and we don't have this weird fixation on re-electing incumbents, then we improve. I mean, the statistics on how much better an incumbent will do in an election is just mind blowing. For a society that hates their government so much, they re-elect people at such a staggering level. Stop doing that. If anything, do the opposite. If you don't have a clue about the election, just assume not the incumbent. If the election is for a position that has authority over something that you can clearly think of, hey, they do a bad job at that, do not vote for them. If you think, man, the buses in this city suck, don't vote for the mayor. Don't do it. Try somebody else. Okay? Let's keep this simple. Let's just replace them. And again, I can't stress this enough. Stop bickering about the stuff that we will never solve. And start making some noise about the things that we can. Once again, we are going to be protesting in Syracuse on Saturday. If you want to come, let me know. If you can bring supplies like granola bars or water bottles, stuff like that, that would be awesome. Please also let me know. And if you want to work jail support, which would mean staying up pretty late Saturday night. Definitely let me know. We need a group for that. Um, I think Black Lives Matter might have jail support set up, but I'm not sure. I haven't gotten a definite answer from them about that yet. So we're going to try to do our own as the Libertarian Party. That's something that we should be doing. Is if we're the party, we're the kind of official group there. Black Lives Matter is an organization; they're protesters. We're a party, so stuff like jail support, stuff like uh, making sure that people's rights aren't being infringed upon in the moment. That's something that we should really be focusing on. So I really want to have a group for that. Um, going to be another episode of the Fight for Liberty show on Monday. Check that out. Drops at 8 p.m. We'll be back here again next Wednesday with um, Tony DeRazio, the state chair of the New York Libertarian Party. And yeah, definitely, if you're in the Syracuse area and you want to come out Saturday, let me know. Hit me up, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever. Comment on this, comment on any random post. I don't care. I want as many people there as we can possibly get there, spreading the news and promoting libertarianism. So please let me know. Other than that, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Fight for Liberty. And if you want to support the channel, go to patreon.com/Fight for Liberty. Everything that you donate right now will go directly towards helping these protests. Getting food, water, people to and from. Everything that's going into the Patreon right now goes right into helping me help these protesters, and possibly, hopefully, ends up with me back in New York City helping them down there, because I know that stuff is getting really heated down there, and I want to be there to help. So please support the channel, patreon.com/Fight for Liberty. And I will see you guys next week. Have a great weekend.